Welcome to the Concierge Medical Marketing Podcast, the show dedicated to helping concierge medical practices grow and thrive. Hosted by Schwartz, a digital marketing expert with over 25 years of experience and a passion for improving American healthcare by helping concierge medical physicians succeed. Here's Schwartz.
Hello and welcome to the Concierge Medical Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Schwartz, and it's my pleasure to have you along on our discussion today. We have a really great discussion planned for today with Dr. Nikolaos Mellios, and he asked me to call him Nico. Nico, thank you for being with me here today.
Thanks, Steve, for the invitation. I'm looking forward to this.
Wonderful. Thank you. And your company is Circular Genomics. We're going to get into that in just a moment. But before we do, please give us a quick background on your history, your schooling, and what brought you to Circular Genomics.
Yeah, of course. So I was originally trained as a physician 20 years ago in Greece, as you can understand from my accent. But I was very disappointed early on by the lack of choices for precision medicine in psychiatry and neurology, right? Difficulty with treatment options, and also in neurology, difficulty with actually having disease-modifying treatment. So I decided to do some training in molecular biology and neuroscientists, initially at UMass Medical School, where I got excited about RNA and non-coding RNAs, and later on at MIT, where I focused on preclinical models and new treatments for neurological and psychiatric disorders. And I have been in the company as a co-founder and chief scientific officer since 4 years ago, and I'm happy to tell you more about the progress that we have done.
Excellent. And right now you're located in New Mexico, but I understand the company is going to be moving soon?
Yes, as part of a strategic partnership that we will announce soon, we'll be moving our laboratory in San Diego and soon our headquarters to San Diego.
Nice. I actually grew up in Southern California myself, the town of San Pedro. And so I love getting back to California for a visit and seeing some friends, enjoying the sights, and obviously catching my favorite restaurants while I'm there. So, but you're going to love San Diego. It's a great, great area. So getting into our discussion today, your company offers MindLight. Now, again, I'm not a physician. I'm a digital marketing expert. But the way I understand MindLight is that it's a blood test which helps physicians with patients exhibiting depression to see if they're going to respond to the SSRI antidepressants. Could you give us a little more detail and make sure I said that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So MindLight is actually the first ever blood assay to directly predict response to the SSRI class of antidepressants. We'll talk a little bit later how the current standard of care is really unacceptable. It relies on trial and error, and we don't really provide physicians with the proper tools to decide which medication, which antidepressant will be the most efficacious for which patient. So that's what we're doing with MindLight. We're predicting before treatment the likelihood of a patient to respond and improve with SSRI class of antidepressants.
Love it. That's so helpful. And again, I'm not a medical person, but the way I understand it is that Zoloft and similar types of medications are somewhat of a trial and error. The physician says, hey, let's put you on this medication. It may help, it may not, but let's give it a try. And that trial could be 6 months, 9 months, a year. And over the course of that time period, the medication literally might not make a difference. And your test, MindLight, can help identify which patients these medicines are going to help before they start the process of taking the medication. Correct?
Exactly. So as you know, there are a lot of different antidepressants that have shown clinical efficacy. They work, right? So antidepressants work. The problem is different classes of antidepressants work on different patients, right? So SSRIs are the first class of treatment, the most commonly prescribed antidepressants where someone is first diagnosed with the disease, but they only work between 40 and 50% of the patients. So you understand that the majority of the patients will wait for 6 months to a year. They might have to adjust the dose, and eventually they will realize it's not working. Another issue with antidepressants is that it takes some weeks for the patient and the physician to realize that they are working. So unlike the side effects that will appear early on and then will reduce and dissipate during treatment, they are drugs that are quite safe and a lot of patients tolerate them, but there will be initially side effects, but the improvement will lag for weeks. So this is where the patient, will have doubt whether the treatment is going to work, but having before treatment an assay that tells you that with high likelihood this person is going to benefit from the drug can guide treatment options for physicians and also give the patient some assurance to be patient and be compliant for the personalized treatment that was chosen by their physician.
Oh, I love it. So what is the accuracy and the clinical utility of MindLight? How
Exactly. So
accurate is it?
on average, the accuracy is around 80% with
Wow.
similar positive and negative predictive value. As of course we are improving our assay performance and accuracy, we also realize, you have to compare that with the standard options that are available to physicians. So right now, again, it will go from 40% likelihood of response. If you take our assay and you are determined as a high likelihood to respond patient, that will jump to 80%. So twofold improvement in the likelihood. And then for those that we predict as non-responders, they will have a 60% chance of actually failing the drug. We can identify them a priori and save the physician and the patient the 6 months to 1 year, and they can be guided to a second line of treatment earlier. So that's a significant improvement in the current standard of care. We think actually can revolutionize how physicians approach treatment for depression.
Right. Now, I understand there are other products or systems available on the market. PGX, I believe, is one of them. Can you tell us a little bit about other products briefly that
Mhm.
are in the same space and why MindLight you feel is a better option or more accurate?
Exactly. So the only assays that are available right now for guiding treatment options for depression are the pharmacogenomics, the PGX assays. So what they do is they look into the patient's DNA and they try to see are there any rare mutations that will affect how the liver metabolizes different drugs. But what we know from significant literature and a lot of clinical studies that have done on pharmacogenomics is that at best these predictions are useful for predicting perhaps side effect profile of drugs and tolerability. Can the patient metabolize and tolerate? For a significant number of literature suggests that these PGX predictions lack clinical utility. They are not able to directly predict response, right? I can metabolize a drug normally, but that doesn't mean in my brain it will induce the specific response. And that doesn't mean that my brain is actually lacking the specific component that this drug normalizes. So, and this is not, again, this is not our opinion. The FDA has issued twice a warning for PGX use for antidepressant treatment prediction because they lack clinical utility and efficacy. And then the American Psychiatric Association has echoed that feeling and they reviewed the clinical studies and they found that, again, there were some clinical studies that failed to show clinical utility. Then they unblinded the consequent studies and found some small improvements. But the American Psychiatric Association does not believe these results support clinical utility. And lastly, as of a few days ago, one of the major insurers decided to drop insurance coverage for PGX from the beginning of the next year. So you can understand there are significant limitations for PGX. And then having said that, in combination with our assay that does this direct prediction of response, we believe PGX could have a synergistic effect into providing additional information to the physician about tolerability and side effect profiling. But again, our assay is the only one right now in the market that can directly predict response to antidepressants.
Boy, what a wonderful position for your company to be in with such an important service that you're providing and the fact that really there's nothing else that compares to it. So let me ask you this. How do you best see our audience members who are primarily concierge physicians or direct primary care doctors with small to medium sized clinics? How can they best connect with your company to utilize MindLight with their patients? What's the process?
Yeah, so the best way is to go into our website, circulargenomics.com, or go and click MindLight and connect them to our website, or they can directly contact me for any further information about our clinical studies, any other components for the performance of the assay So that would be the best way, either directly contacting me or going into our website, or searching for MindLight antidepressant response test, and it will direct them to our sales.
Okay, that sounds great. And do practices typically buy a certain number of tests, or how does that process work?
So is the question if there's additional tests that we are working on, or?
No, let me clarify. Let's say a practice deals with a lot of patients with depression issues. They have tried the test and they want to be able to use it and essentially have a stock of these tests available, or taking blood and sending it. Exactly. How does the process work kind of in the nitty gritty, please?
Exactly. Excellent question. So once we will set up an account with the physician's office or clinic, and once the account is set up, then we will send the kits into the physician's office. If their clinic does not have the capacity for phlebotomy, we can arrange ourselves for mobile phlebotomy or other options. So in which case we will send the kits to the site of phlebotomy. Okay, and as far as that, then the turnaround time is around 5 days. So 5 days after that, the physician will have a report in their office clearly stating, is the patient high likelihood or low likelihood to respond to SSRIs. And again, for now, this is a direct pay assay where the patient has to agree to cover the costs of the assay. But again, in the future, we'll be working on insurance coverage in the next few years.
Boy, this has been so fascinating and I've learned so much. Do you have any final comments that you'd like to share with our audience regarding your system, the business, how they can contact you? Anything else you want to add?
Yes, I would like to add a little bit about our clinical studies, because I understand people in concierge medical fields, they're really interested into the quality of the science and the clinical studies, and they want to, when they are adopting cutting edge products. So I would like to mention that it was really able to work with leading key opinion leaders in psychiatry, and we were able to get access to very large, well-characterized clinical samples. So far, we have 6 different hospital locations, including Harvard Medical School, UT Southwestern, Columbia University, European locations. So we did a number of clinical discovery validation studies, and we did significant analytical validation studies that showed the reproducibility and the robustness of our assay. For me, it's not just as a former physician and neuroscientist. For me, I'm on a mission to help patients, like a lot of other individuals I've seen in my family, the difficulty of having depression and not having the proper treatment. So I would just like to emphasize that this is a significant attention in the quality of the clinical studies, the results, and also additional validation and independent validation studies to be able to know that this is a product that can have a significant impact in the clinic. And the last comment again on concierge, given that they are ahead of the field in precision medicine, we're also looking forward to getting into discussions with concierge medical systems and getting feedback on how the additional components that will benefit them, and also, of course, discussing with them and clarifying the need for having this assay in the markets. And another component to say that we already are discussing with numerous psychiatrists and mental health experts, and the significant enthusiasm from experts on utilizing this assay. It seems for them that this is something that has been actually delayed. They wish they had this product many years ago, because as you understand, due to the pandemic, the prevalence of major depressive disorder has climbed very high. 25% of adults report having depression in their lifetime. So this is really a very significant, urgent component that I'm sure concierge physicians have to deal in a daily basis.
Right. I've heard a lot of cases related to the pandemic. At least more people are searching mental health counseling or therapies to help them with issues like depression, loneliness, and related simply from the pandemic, especially younger people. It seems like the trend that I've seen, again, non-medical, but a trend of younger people being much more willing to seek mental health counseling to help them through whatever they're going through. And it's thrilling to see that, because, for me, when I grew up, the idea of, if your knee hurt or your elbow or you had a headache, you talk about it. But if it was mental health issues, we don't talk about that, right? It was kind of hush hush and kept under the rug. And so I'm very grateful for the work that you're doing at your company, as well as many other folks in the industry, to help bring mental health to the forefront, because there's so many places where things can be improved, but we have to talk about them, right?
Exactly.
We have to bring these issues to light so that we can find great solutions and help people have more happy, fulfilled, positive lives, and cut down on rates of suicide and drug abuse and other awful things.
And if I may add to this excellent point, is the significant progress in reducing the stigma for mental health, including depression. We're really glad to see that. But when you have a patient suffering from depression and they're being in this very difficult situation, right, for them, with also significant comorbidities and disability, for the physician to disappoint them and give them this trial and error approach, I think this really first reduces credibility, and physicians then, will have problem convincing the patient to try another treatment. But I also believe that once physicians employ precision medical choices for treatment, and once the percentage of individuals that benefit from treatment increases to the 70-80% that we want to see with our assay, I believe that will also help eliminate the stigma. Because it will be, I had depression or another mental health during the summer, and after a few months now, I'm feeling perfectly fine. So I think it will help a little bit eliminate the stigma by explaining that there are viable options and people can get better as fast as possible.
Well, Nico, this has been great. Thank you again for taking the time to speak with me on the podcast today. And I'm very confident that from what you've told me, your product is going to help many, many patients in the future, the help that they need by knowing if these type of medications are going to help them before they take them and before they invest the time and the money. And like you said, the trust and credibility of their physician in that process. So I love what you're doing, and I'm so glad we had the chance to speak today. I attended the Concierge Medical Forum in Cumming, Georgia a few weeks ago and met some members of your team there. And it was so nice to connect with them. And through them, they put me in touch with you in order to connect for this podcast interview today.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss with you. And again, thank you for transferring the message to physicians about all the opportunities that exist right now. So again, pleasure to chat with you.
Truly, my pleasure. I love through this podcast that I get the chance to meet so many interesting people who are doing such amazing work to help elevate medical and health care for people across our entire country and obviously beyond. My part, as I mentioned, I'm not clinical, I'm not a doctor at all, but my background is in digital marketing. And I actually wrote a book called The Definitive Guide to Winning with Digital Marketing for Concierge Medical Practices. And this book is over 100 pages of actionable information designed specifically to help small to medium-sized concierge practices and DPC practices win and succeed in their practices through effective digital marketing. This book is available through our website, conciergemd.marketing. Again, totally free download. Feel free to visit there, enter your email address in the box and hit the go button. The system should send you an email with a link where you can download the book. Please take it with my compliments. And of course, if there's anything that anybody in my audience listening to the podcast, any questions you have about growing your practice, my phone number is 772-304-2420. Please give me a call. It'll be my pleasure to assist in any way that I can. So with all that being said, Dr. Nikolaos Mellios, thank you, Nico, for your time today. I appreciate it so much. We'll definitely keep an eye on your business into the future and continue to grow and help lots of people.
Thanks so much, Stephen. Pleasure to be in your podcast.
My pleasure. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Thank you for tuning in to the Concierge Medical Marketing Podcast. Please subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts, and stay connected with us on social media. To speak with Stephen Schwartz about growing your concierge medical practice, give him a call at
772-304-2420
or visit our website at conciergemd.marketing. We will see you next time.